We continue our working day, and the topic of the next press briefing report on MP's infractional union EuroOptimists trip to Luhansk and Donetsk regions of February 8 and 9. Svitlana Zalishchuk, Petro Poroshenko Block, Vladyslav Ryabchyn, Batkivshyna, Oksana Yurynets, Petro Poroshenko, Dmytro Igor. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and journalists. We are from our trip. We arrived at 10 a.m. this morning, and we were in Lugansk, then in Donetsk regions. And we were 10 deputies from EuroOptimist group, and also some journalists joined us. And this visit was in the framework of a model district project, and Igor Kohut is going to tell us about it, and Viktor Lach also is going to tell us about this, due to whom this visit was possible. And I would like to tell you about the results of our visit. Lugansk and Donetsk regions, they have big place in our hearts, in our political debates, on live shows. But by this visit, we try to balance the level of efforts and work that we have as activists do everything possible in order to improve the situation in these regions, both in economic and cultural spheres. And one more important thing is that our efforts and our ability to renew and restore normal life in these oblasts, in our territories, will be a precondition of returning of Donbass and to restore territorial integrity and sovereignty of our state, because this is not the matter of public declarations, but this is the work, daily normal work of all governmental bodies and infrastructure, normal work of civil society, mass media, and others. And in this context, there are some what we saw and what are the results. First, we should say that Lugansk and Donetsk oblasts, they are different from other oblasts. These are oblasts with special needs, and maybe there are more acute problems in all the spheres. Firstly, in political sphere, we have the separatist forces, those who were elected through local elections and took part in illegal referendums. These people are still in power. And the former regime is still in local government. And these are the problems that faces pro-Ukrainian community, the governors, Georgy Tuka and also Zhebrivsky. But we see the organization of local activists, deputies, civil society organizations, and these are parallel processes with those that create some problems. And among the most acute problems, because and people are not satisfied with some issues, lack of compensation and lack of restoration of buildings, and also there's no legal mechanism to provide this help. 7,000 buildings were destroyed, and we should find a mechanism how to compensate this. We are speaking about low salaries in local governmental bodies and law enforcement bodies, those who came to Severodonetsk, Kramatorsk in administrative centers of Luhansk and Donetsk Oblast. They started a new military and civil administration, prosecutor's office, the police, the universities, all those institutions that we visited, with whom we communicated, we tried to study their problems. And these people, these are separated families, those who left all their belongings in the occupied territories, and they get the salary, and they had to rent some housing. And this rent is really high, like in Kiev, because there's lack of housing in the market, and this is a problem, and this is security and the stability of the work of these bodies of power in these territories. Also, activists told us that half a year ago, there was a mobilization of volunteers and cultural communities that came there from different parts of Ukraine. And now there's decline. There's military de-escalation, but also the level of taking decisions. The process is slow, despite military de-escalation in the region that we observe. And also about mass media. It's not a secret that we are talking about opportunity to fight for Donbass through mass media. But we are in the Karachun mountain, where we saw a place of destroyed tower that is now restored, the height of which is 29 meters, and there's only 10 kilometers of distance, and in the occupied territories, they don't have access to this facility in the occupied territories. And in May, they will institute a transmitter that will reinforce the signal and will help our broadcast to the occupied territory. And this is only the small part of the problems that are there. And we prepared a report with all the places where we were, all the environment and the representatives of the power and civil society with whom we met, and we distributed this information through the media, and we also will send this in the form of press release, and we will report on all the points that we decided to help these people and what is the progress in these spheres. I give the floor to Oleksiy Ryabchyn and Oksana Yurynets, my colleagues MPs, who are going to tell you about our steps and what we saw in those regions.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I represent Batkivshyna faction and I represent Donetsk region. This trip was easy for me because I am from that region. I was born there, and it was not difficult for me because all the things which we took there, and which not only Luhansk and Donetsk region demand, other regions also demand this to renew trust in governmental agencies. And I know people who live in Donetsk and Lugansk area, and I am grateful to RADA program. I think that Mr. Kohut will talk about RADA program more, but I know that Svitlana is loaded with her profile activity, that she put much effort into holding for sanctions against Russia, but I was impressed by Svitlana's organization, high organization of this trip, and I believe that the more MPs, the more journalists, we had 30 journalists with us, the more people will visit those regions, the better. Then when we were on a visit, we not only listened to people, we also felt people. When you just read news staying in Kiev, and when you are on a visit on site, the feelings will be quite different. So now our MPs after this visit will hold for interests of Donetsk and Luhansk region citizens more easier, understanding how they live. When we were in Drushkivka, with a visit in Drushkivka, where local MPs combat with separatism there, which exists there, and they ask us about the MP which they elected because they did not see him, and they, in their town. The whole town lived with this event that 10 MPs, they were us, came with a visit to their town, and we were in Slavyansk, we were in Karanchun Mountain, in Kramatorsk, and it is not pleasant for me is combating for those higher educational institutions which moved from the occupied territories. We visited several institutions which hosted those institutions which had moved, and we listened to IDPs and to the lecturers of those higher educational institutions whose salaries are misery. They are patriots. We should take care of them, and I'm very glad that my colleagues heard their problems and listened to those people, and we promised that we will gain 30 votes in RADA, in the parliament, to address their problems. The other problem is restoration of the infrastructure, the houses which have been ruined, and the funds have already been allocated, but the bureaucratic procedure have not been worked out. This is very vivid example for me. For example, 100 meters of bridge which have not been restored for years, taking the national funds and international funds. We should demonstrate that we have the power which do not which have attitude to them not as to just voters, but which take care of them as the residents of the country. So we are for increasing the salaries of those executive authorities and regional councils staff. but the laws have not been implemented yet. Some laws which have already been passed by the MPs, they have not been implemented at the national or local levels, and this is a shame, and the policy the politicians should demonstrate that the reforms have been implemented and the situation has changed, and we received positive responses from people that nobody came to talk to them, and now we received a request from Mariupol, an invitation to visit their town, so I think this would be not the last our visit to Donetsk and Luhansk region. Good afternoon. I am a majority deputy from Lviv. I visited Donetsk and Luhansk region half a year ago, and this was very important for me. If MPs visited the East in previous years, then we do not experience problems now. MPs should assist those regions, but not be an obstacle to development of the region. And the budget allocates only 5% of the 100% needs of those regions, but we saw the heads of regional administrations who are really people who believe in the activities in the case on which they work on. And the Ivan Franko Institute promised to provide books to the higher educational institutions, and at Minister Quid's office there was a meeting, and we should pass temporary laws. That is why these things these issues which we have addressed, and those meetings which we had, we elaborated proposals while being there with a visit. It was important for me to be there because I had the opportunity to visit the mechanized brigades from Lviv. They are my electorate. They are from 24th and 80th Brigade. They said that they know who they defend because the citizens, the civilians in those regions are also patriots, and my Lviv native friends who are servicemen in those brigades, they know who they defend. My colleagues said that EuroOptimists, the MPs who would like to change the country, they hope to change the country, they don't know all those undercover rules which used to have to exist in the parliament. And local authorities, we should counteract the corrupt local and national deputies with our knowledge. It is very important to visit Lugansk because the view from Kiev is quite different. This time, when I was on a visit, I understood that it was the most important trip for me for the whole year, where we can communicate with the civilians from the east, because I feel that this is my debt to civilians in the east. This is what we can do now under these circumstances. We need to elaborate the plan to implement those proposals which we received when on a visit. Many people who did not visit Donetsk and Lugansk region yet, they can perceive and experience the situation. Then the vision also will change. This is the way how East and West can be together.
Good afternoon. I'm Viktor Lyach. I'm a representative of Eastern Europe Initiative, and we introduce. We want to introduce new mechanisms in the work, and to help solve problems and discuss problems, those problems that bothers our people. And also we understand that the public and the voters should have all the information about the activity of the deputies. I want to thank our people's deputies that were on this trip, and it was a difficult visit, and deputies had some courage to meet these thousands of people, tons of organizations, and we visited 5 cities. We started our trip at 6 a.m. and then we came back at 9 p.m. and then after this we worked hard and to create opportunities for this close cooperation with the deputies. We started an initiative that is called Model District, and my colleague will tell you about it in more detail, but I would like to tell you about the results that we have now in the framework of this project that provide us with opportunity to give the public the opportunity to provide their comments, to be heard by the deputies. And we introduced a number of decisions that create transparent activities of the committees and transparent activity of RADA as a whole. And due to RADA project, we also provided some video broadcast of the committees and also all the documents that are connected with the work of the committees. They should be published on proper websites. And also, we provided the public with the opportunity to provide electronic complaints and addresses, and we provided technical decisions in order that people could file petitions, and there are options, and people can file their appeals to the council. And also, we started the work to establish Wi-Fi in all the committees of the Supreme Council, and also Grossman plans to provide Wi-Fi throughout Verkhovna Rada, not only for the deputies but also for the media, And we already work on this. And we want to work also on the innovative works as public report of the deputy and also trips of parliamentary committees and also visits of MPs in the regions. And I thank the deputies for their openness and their readiness to join this activity. About my own impressions. First, administrative services. Mr. Tuka said that this is priority, but here we should help to realize the most effective way of access of the citizens to administrative services, but because maybe this is the first obstacle for this services should be provided in a clear and transparent way, in the most effective way, in the centers of provision of such services. And this is a need and very acute issue. Secondly, I should say that we saw a lot of enthusiasm among the community activists, but as Svitlana told us, enthusiasm is in decline, and maybe we should think how we can make their activity more professional and how to help them to reach a professional level and to create capabilities for them in order that this enthusiasm be professional in the form of organizations, councils, at some local governmental bodies. This is very important, and I think that those people who support activists and organizations, they should think about it in order to support organizational part of this process. And also there are a lot of people with great potential for the development of small and medium-sized business, but they do not have opportunities. Slavyansk, 100,000 people and 30,000 IDPs and only 20,000 who work, and 10 are in the public sector. So it means that 10 only, this is a part of people who work. So many people, there are some opportunities and great potential, but the state should provide people with opportunity to start their own business and to be successful. Thank you very much for your openness, and I give the floor to my colleague Igor Kohut, and he will represent a model.
You know, these people are not only Euro-optimists and not only MPs of the Parliament of Ukraine. They are the driver of reforms in the Parliament. They take part in different initiatives related to openness, transparency, and reforms in parliamentary activities. And I'm very glad that they have become the part of our program RADA, USAID program. They are not only majoritarian deputies, they are also proportional MPs. This means that the link of MP elected by list method, they are not so much linked with their territories for which they are responsible for. We propose, and we would like to have more communication between MPs and citizens, and this is not only format of such visits, on-site visits. We saw very interesting scenes in Donbass. The communication field was formed with local authorities, civil society, and local politicians, local deputies. A model circuit, besides technological basis, a deputy should have a mobile office. These 7 MPs will have the opportunity to use this new mobile office opportunities. We would like that MPs go beyond the limits of just responding to citizens' complaints and claims. We offer municipal forums when civil society participates in decision making on local, regional level. This will take place, and the opportunity to present reports of MPs' activities, their status reports. I would like to repeat the same on-site visit so that the MPs can report to the civilians what liabilities, what they have implemented, because they undertook many obligations during the visit this time, and I suppose they will report about their outcomes. So the MPs have collected the list of issues, so they have now the homework to complete. And media support has been provided by us. We can offer to MPs special opportunities to deliver their presentations on local level. And Internews of Ukraine is one of our partners. It provides for we have also other sponsors. We united our activities with MPs and civil societies, local work on local levels on site. This is the best tradition of parliamentarism. The police offices, the prosecutors' offices, the strongholds of Ukrainian army on Karachun mountain were visited. So the communications on site provided us with the opportunity to fulfill the educational and communication function on the grassroots levels. So we can talk much, but I will end at this point.
Ridko Vyacheslav, thank you for your initiative. I have a proposal to Oksana. A year ago, I had an initiative of the city's brothers, one of Frankovsk and the local deputies. They supported this idea. They want to join this process, and you said that we spoke about it. Yes, we can also add Lviv, because there they started to think how to provide some books in universities that were displaced. And Drushkiv, there were the first time that deputies came there because they didn't saw their own deputy. But maybe this cooperation among cities, it will be great in order to know what cities are there in Ukraine. Do you have some other questions? If there's no comments or questions, maybe final remarks, and we will end the meeting. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your activity. Until the next time, goodbye.